Sammy, and we are here at Patchwerk Recording Studios for the I Do Music online podcast. And I'm here with a very special individual, Keinon Johnson. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming out. National Director of Urban Promotions at Interscope.
That is it.
That is it. Never So Dope.
That is it.
Yeah, so these are, this is what I found in terms of your title when researching. But you were actually born here in Atlanta.
Correct.
And then you spent majority of your childhood in Harlem. Is that correct?
All of my childhood, actually. My mom moved to New York when I was 3 months old.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I knew was home growing up.
Gotcha.
And I came back to Atlanta when it was time to go to college.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And you went to Clark, right?
Clark Atlanta University, class of 97.
All right.
Let's be clear.
Okay.
Panthers.
All right, Panthers.
The mighty Black Panthers.
My sister went to Clark, so I spent a lot of my childhood on that
person.
campus.
Awesome person.
Yes. And you spoke about at an early age just kind of visiting your dad here in Atlanta when you were younger.
Yeah.
How was that in terms of how it affected what you're doing now, seeing that at such an early age? Because he also is in the music industry, correct?
Correct. My father's name is Keinon Johnson, and he's probably at this point, probably a 45-year vet in the game. And he's always been an independent promoter in the record business. And when I started coming down here at 10, that's when we actually started to build a relationship. It was totally different from what I was experiencing in Harlem with my moms and my stepfather. I mean, we grew up in Harlem in the crack era. And all the things that you experienced, in neighborhoods like that, we experienced. So coming down here to my pops, who was living the bachelor life for the most part and doing it big and just seeing a different energy and a different light, it really opened up my eyes to a lot of things. And I knew early in the game that if this is what it means to be a legal black man having your own, this is what I want for my life as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he was always fly, always had money.
So what exactly did your dad do, or does your dad do?
Still does. He's an independent record promoter. That. It would take a lot for me to explain what he does, so I won't try to attempt.
Okay.
But let's just say he's a big deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so from there, traveling back and forth from Atlanta to Harlem, just visiting your dad, and then also having that mentality, that New York mentality. I've noticed a lot of people in the industry have. What made you decide, instead of staying in New York and kind of, especially during that time with music as well, what made you decide to come down to, aside from college? Was that primarily why you came to Atlanta to go to college?
Well, I mean, when I would come down here to Atlanta for the summer, it was kind of like, not even kind of, it was like a retreat from the realities of New York. Like, New York is home, and I loved it. And it was really even though we lived in, Harlem and we were poor, it was awesome. But Atlanta, in retrospect, was like Disneyland for me. Like, I would come down here and Pops would just spoil me to death. And it was just like, wow, this is life. This is how life can be. Even though that's not the reality of it, because it was a short period of time. So it was easy to impress a young kid. But it was like, all right, well, I come down here in the summers. It's all love. This is when New Yorkers would get love in Atlanta. Stupid. Like, your accent was your key to the world when it came to girls in Atlanta just being 100. Like, we
didn't hear that. We didn't know that.
We were exotic. Like New York dudes were exotic back in those days in the early 90s, late 80s. So, that was like, for me, a young man growing up and maturing into, a man. Oh, I'm coming out here and I'm winning. So then you get the influence of shows like The Cosby Show and A Different World that showed that black college experience.
Exactly.
So when you come to Atlanta, you see that that's all around you. It was an easy fit for me. It was an easy fit. So I always knew I wanted to come down here and just try this thing on for size, and I ended up staying here forever.
Nice. Well, we are happy to have you here in Atlanta for all these years.
I'm happy to call myself a 20-something year resident of the city, and I feel like I'm definitely a part of the fabric of it at this point.
Absolutely. Let's talk about FCC. Let's take it back to where you started, that street team that you created.
Man, FCC actually was born out of just some guys wanting to do parties, just being perfectly honest. My
Oh, so it was like a promotion,
It
party
just
promotion?
yes, it initially started out as an idea from my partners Sammy and Carlton Green and myself coming up high in a dorm room with the name Four Corner Circle, which we thought was the most mystical fly shit ever because we was like, yo, you know, it's four of us, right? But yo, we don't really like kick it all the time. We all got our own circles outside of us four. So the bigger unit makes a circle of us four. So we're the four corner circle. So
Deep.
in retrospect, it wasn't as deep as we thought it was. But in our high college minds, that shit was fly.
Yeah.
So FCC was born out of that. And when we were about to graduate from Clark, we did two big house parties. Graduating before we graduated. Never had dinner party myself in my life, but we was like, all right, let's try it. Blew them shits out the water.
Yeah.
Shits went stupid, like to the point where people from back then, they know about those parties, but we didn't think nothing about it. So people kept on asking us after we graduated, what's up with the parties? What's up with the parties? And the demand was there for it. So we actually formed a real deal company after graduating, and that became Four Corner Circle, which still exists. And we turned it into a promotions and marketing company, which initially started with us doing real parties at venues, and then it ended up turning into an actual business where we did street team work for all of the major labels in the city, which at one point we had all of the major accounts, which included Arista, Sony, Priority, Epic, and just a few other like brands at the like Echo Unlimited, which had offshoot business as well, and then part of Loud, which had SRC, and with SRC they had a bunch of corporate accounts like Pepsi and different brands like that.
Oh, wow.
So we were like marketing brands guerrilla style to college campuses and on clubs for years and just killing it, man, and being the outlet, for a lot of these companies to get their records broken in Atlanta.
That is so amazing.
And it was honestly born out of us just wanting to, make our way out here. It had nothing to do with the bread, because in all honesty, my personal story with Street Team is I actually took on a Street Team account with Loud Records while I was still at Clark from 95 to 97, thanks to my man Jay Irvin, who's still a big manager in the business. He had the Loud Records account, and I was just a hungry guy that wanted to make my name. So I could see that, he had the account and he probably needed a little help from somebody that was a little more scrappy and wanted to actually get their hands dirty. So I took on the account for no bread, because I had the mindset that with this product that everybody's digging from the biggest artists in the game at the time, I can actually it can actually get me into a lot of doors.
Right.
And it did. At the time we were working artists like Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang, Alcoholics, Big Pun.
Yeah.
And of that day, that was what was popping. They were the 21s of that day. They were the underground cats, but that were on the come up to become major artists of the time. So I was on, I'm in college. I'm not really making no bread, but I'm able to make relationships that still remain prevalent in my life today, based off those early relationships I made back then from Street Team.
That's amazing, and to see that growth, and obviously to where you are now, tremendously. I'm sure that affected what you're doing and how you're doing and how you're moving now. That brings me to another question about the relationships you've built over the years, and how they've helped you leverage such success.
Yeah.
We know that in the industry it's about meeting people, right?
Correct.
So let's talk about your relationship with Garnett
March.
Yes.
Garnett is my number one mentor outside of my father in the business. Garnett March hired me out of college. I graduated from Clark in May of '97. He hired me to be the regional rep for a new upstart of Priority Records, which was a reboot of Priority Records in '97, of August of '97. And to be perfectly honest with you, I thank that man for putting me on, because I really didn't know that part of the business. I knew the grind and the grit of being on the Street Team, but I didn't know what it meant to be a regional rep and dealing with program directors, music directors, and DJs on a radio level. So they saw something in me and saw a guy that was willing to learn, that was willing to, put it all on the line and go out there and get those records played one way or another. So, and he allowed me to have a learning curve to actually learn the job over my first year or so that I could become the person I am today. So I thank him tremendously for the opportunity, and that's why I try to give as many people that I can identify with those same kind of traits opportunities as possible, because somebody did it for me, and I think that's the only way you keep this whole thing going.
Exactly.
In the business. You got to cultivate talent, and when you see something in somebody, actually identify it and help them, cultivate their talent and refine themselves as well.
Absolutely. And would you say that, well, first off, you were able to become the Southeast Regional Rep 2 months after college, which is
Yeah.
everybody don't get those opportunities.
Man, you don't even know. Like, I didn't even know what it meant.
Was that through, you met him through starting FCC?
Nah,
working with him?
I got a couple of independent gigs while I
Okay.
was in college. While I was in college, I did some work with DreamWorks.
Okay.
But just naturally, that was like, Street Team back then was kind of like the farm league for getting to a label back then. Like, you would look to the Street Team to see who was the guy that we can bring up and actually make him a real part of a real label at that time. So I was the A player coming out of the farm league. So it was just natural. If it wasn't Garnett, someone would have probably plucked me at some point out of the street and brought me up to a label. So it was just a great.
Inevitable.
I don't want to say that because I'm not presumptuous like that, but I would say the work had been put in, and time and met preparation.
Gotcha. That's real. So is it true that you were responsible for breaking some pretty influential artists at Priority, right?
Yeah, man. Our biggest successes probably came with the guy that really spawned what we see in the business today, Master P. He changed the game. He actually took ownership by the balls back then and gave a new blueprint for how these artists can come out here and actually be the CEOs of their own situation, all while still existing within a label structure and having all of the benefits of their success come back their way by owning their masters and using a label just for production and distribution, as opposed to signing away all of your life, when you sign to a label where they get the lion's share of the money on the back end, if I'm correct. And this is what I've heard over the years, that P's deal was a 80-20 deal with Priority, which was unheard of back then. So, him coming with that whole mindset of, I got the dope, you're just a supplier.
Right.
That's a street mentality on a million, because he had enough. He bet on himself.
Right.
At the end of the day, he was able to say, I know what this is. All I need you to do is put me in front of the right people, and we'll take it to the next level together. But you're not going to eat more than me on this, because this is actually my dope.
Exactly.
I made the dope. I cooked the dope. I packaged the dope.
Right.
You're just going to put it in store for me.
Exactly.
And I mean, at the end of the day, that changed the game. If you look at it, I mean, through the whole physical CD era, that was the new model for any rapper that was coming up in the game. And I think it really led to this DIY approach that you see most of these guys that's coming up with now, that's using the internet to propel themselves, to the point before they get to a label.
Exactly. So what was your role in that situation in terms of Master P, as well as, Ice Cube? Like you people will say that you were responsible for breaking their careers.
I was a piece of the puzzle. I'm not going to say I was the guy that broke it completely myself, because we had a staff of incredible people around the country that broke these records. But I will say this: Atlanta has always been, since the late 90s, the number one market when it comes to breaking records. So anyone knows, if you don't get Atlanta, or until you get Atlanta, it really don't mean shit.
Right.
Like, Atlanta is a proving ground. People look to Atlanta to see which records are really popping, which records are starting out, and ultimately which records are working on a full-blown level once they actually get on radio. Like, for instance, what I mean is, once they get on radio, are they actually sticking? Mm-hmm. So many markets look to Atlanta to see what that is, and I was responsible for, lighting the candle for a lot of these projects. And
why do you think that is, in terms of Atlanta being the area where records need to be?
Fertile ground. Okay. Atlanta is fertile ground. Atlanta is a very creative place. And I think the pride of Atlanta is what leads Atlanta to continuing to be a place where new growth is being found. Like, absolutely. New York initiated it, and that's my city, and I love it to death. But at a point, it has to move in order for this species called hip hop to continue to grow. And it's been Atlanta's time for the past 20 years. I think it'll end up moving somewhere else. Again, it may go back to New York, but right now, this is the fertile ground. Like, look at it. If hip hop started in New York in the '70s, we had a 20-year head start on everybody else. So by the time it got to Atlanta, for real, in the '90s with Cass and everybody else, I mean, I know we had Keinon and everybody else before that, but once Cass like really put that stake in the ground, that was the birth of Atlanta on a high level. So now you have it now not only just spreading through Atlanta, it's spreading to other parts of Atlanta where people have a different point of view on how they're gonna take on hip hop.
Exactly.
You know, the east side is not the same as the south side,
not at all.
and the north side damn sure ain't the
Definitely
same as
not.
the rest of the city. But look at today, the north side is running shit.
Yeah.
Like everybody coming out of the north side is the one that's dictating the sound.
Yeah.
So Atlanta's going through its own renaissance and it's still evolving. And the best thing that I can see about Atlanta is Atlanta knows how to recreate itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of places get stuck in their own sound and their own culture of nostalgia of the culture, whereas Atlanta is so new still. They're not stuck in what is perceived to be how you need to be.
Right.
If you know what I'm saying. Like,
I feel you.
To be a New York rapper, for all intents and purposes, you have to have certain qualities. You have to be able to actually really, really, really rap and have this highbrow approach to being rap. And if you don't do that, this is what is looked at. If you're not taking that approach, you're not really being a New York rapper. But at the end of the day, with Atlanta, you got people that can rap their ass off, but you also have a dance culture here. You also have a huge club culture here, and everything melds into its own little gumbo. So now, no one is stuck on just doing it one way.
Right.
As much as cats can rap their ass off, they're not stuck on that. They still can make party records or records like Liberation where they're just doing some soulful shit, and it's still all good.
Exactly.
They're not stuck in one linear approach to making music, and that's the greatness of Atlanta. They're not you're not limited to making music one kind of way.
Right.
And it's all acceptable.
Love it. That's why I love my city.
It's a dope
love
city.
Atlanta.
It's a dope city. It's fertile ground. I call it fertile ground, man. It's an amazing place.
Yes. So when you let's go back to Priority Records. After you left Priority Records, you were offered another position somewhere else.
Once I left Priority in 2001, I went to MCA Records.
Mm-hmm.
MCA Records is a part of the Universal Music Group. So MCA ended up merging with Geffen Records. Geffen then merged with Interscope Records, where I am today, and where I've been under the Universal umbrella for 15 years as of this past December 4th.
Nice. Well, congrats on that.
Thank you.
That's a long time.
It is like this.
You don't see that often.
People staying at one company and being in this business this long is definitely
rare.
It's rare, and I definitely feel blessed to be able to make it this far. You know, I hope it's a testament to just me always keeping my head down and working hard.
I'm sure it's a testament to your work ethic.
And
for
not
sure.
not getting caught up in what this is supposed to be. Like it's a job. A lot of people get caught up in this music business thing and want to play a part. I'm here for the work.
I feel you.
Let's get the work done.
I hear it. So you also, I watched an old interview of you talking about when working with labels and being like a record exec, demanding what you deserve. I think that probably plays a huge part in your success and your longevity within these companies and these labels and these, just even your reputation in the industry. People respect you a lot. What can you say, or how can you say you've developed as a person to be able to demand such respect and getting what you deserve?
For me, it's easy. Like, be you. Like, I believe in being the same person you was. Well, let me bring that back, because I believe in growth. But I believe when you're dealing with people, you should be that same person when you're up or when you're down. You should be able to greet people and people feel a good energy from you, whether they know you or whether they don't know you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or if I don't see you again for 5 years, we bumping into each other somewhere. It should be love regardless. And
Absolutely.
that's just me. My whole approach to just life is bringing energy, bringing good energy, and bringing positivity to everything that I'm doing. So that's my strong suit. I know what the Keinon brand is. The Keinon brand is Mr. Nice Guy. Fine. If that's what y'all love about me, we're gonna play that up 1,000%.
Nice.
Like I am the guy who connects people. I am the nice guy. But I'm also the dude behind the scenes that's going and getting that shit
Exactly.
and putting it down 1,000. Now everybody don't need to see that. Like a lot of people to this day, and it's funny, don't even know what I do because I've never been the guy to cape for a company. Like I cape for Keinon.
Right.
It's the Keinon Johnson brand that's going to walk me into any door that I want to get in this life. Now, once I get into a structure, I will make that structure better, and the things that I bring to the table, we'll be able to succeed together as part of that situation. But when you get caught up on labels and get caught up on your associations, what happens when those associations don't have the same kind of life anymore? What happens when that label that was popping 5 years ago no longer really exists, but all you was so-and-so?
Yeah.
What happens then?
Yeah.
But if I always carry the Keinon card and always project the Keinon card to the world, it don't matter where I'm at. He's a good dude. His work ethic his work ethic is incredible, and you always know that you can depend on that guy.
Right.
And he's 100 every time you see him. What's better than that?
Sounds pretty.
Can you beat that?
Sounds like Mr. Nice Guy to me. I like that.
Can you beat that? Can you beat somebody who's reliable, gets their work done, and always gonna give you a good vibe? You can't beat that.
That's real.
That's unstoppable.
That's real. So let's talk about what you're doing right now and what you've been doing for the last 15 years at Interscope. Your role is the National Director of Urban Promotion. So for people who don't know, in terms of like urban promotions, like what exactly could you describe like your day-to-day in terms of your work life?
My day-to-day is getting artists like Kendrick Lamar, Ray Shrimmer, Tory Lanez, new artists like Black, K-Camp, getting these people the ultimate exposure I can get them, whether it's on radio, TV, getting them appearances that make sense, that actually gonna propel their brands to another level, and getting their records played on the radio. So
you dealing with a lot of more so like meeting a lot of people within like different radio stations. And
that's my primary function,
okay.
is dealing with the program directors, music directors, and DJs around the country at these radio stations. And this is where 15 years experience comes into play, because those relationships that you've been dealing with for years, those battles that you've had through the years, are what actually gets you ahead of a lot of people and get you ahead of the line for that new artist. Exactly. When it's time to actually get a new artist broke. You know what I'm saying? Because we actually have a relationship with these people that have been in these spots that we've actually grown up together. A lot of guys that are program directors now, they were little small scrubs like me when I started. They were street team, or when I was street team, they were club DJs. Now a lot of them are program directors and music directors, and we've actually made this journey together.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, would you rather have Keinon walking in that new record by so and so, or would you rather have Whoop De Whoop that just started 2 years ago walking in that record? I think you want to fuck with Keinon. He's gonna get a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt, because Keenan's not. One thing I've never done is oversold a record, and anybody will tell you that. If a record's just cool, I'm not gonna say it's just cool, but I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm just gonna be like, look, this is a record that we're trying to get off the ground. Give it a shot. If it doesn't work, we'll deal with that on a later basis. But I at least need to give it a shot to say that I gave this artist a fair shake. But at the end of the day, if I really believe in some shit, you best believe.
Pushing it.
We going balls to the wall, but it's never going to be a situation where the artist doesn't get a fair shake. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's awesome. Because
what you don't want to do is, when you're in this position, is, sell the word of the day, falsehoods or alternative facts when you're promoting records, because then you really start to put your integrity on the line.
Exactly.
And then people don't want to answer your calls anymore.
Exactly.
Because you're putting their jobs in position when you're having them playing a duck, when it's and you told them it was the next hot shit. You know what I'm saying?
Is that how you've been able to? Because like I said, when I was kind of like, I've never met you before. This is great meeting you today, but like researching you prior to coming, obviously you don't see the bad stuff, but I don't know anybody that's going to say anything bad about Keinon, right? So you've developed this reputation over time, and also you have a respect in the music realm. Like you said, if you were to bring a record, people probably are going to program directors are going to take a listen. Is that because have you ever experienced a time where you've given them a record and it's just like, this is trash, Keinon, like I can't
Of course.
do this?
Like, every record that you get is not a banger. Like, But unfortunately, not even unfortunately, this is just with anything. Like, you think the people who had to promote clear Pepsi wanted to promote that shit? Nah, that's what was on the plate at that day. Like, we got to promote this shit. Like, this is what is gonna make us potentially money for the next 50 years.
That's real.
So I don't have a choice in who we sign. I just got to get that shit played. So at the end of the day, sure, you could tell me that shit is whack, but I'm still gonna try to get it played. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna fake like it's the next coming. But I'm gonna still come in here every week until you give it a shot, because this artist deserves a shot, or they wouldn't have got signed on our label.
Right. In
You
the
know what I'm
first place.
saying? And at the end of the day, we work in a business. This is not a choice.
So take us back to the moment. How did you feel when Kendrick Lamar got that Grammy?
You know what, man? That whole Kendrick Lamar album situation is like the crowning achievement of my career. Why? I am the epitome of what you call a backpack hip hop kid from New York. Like, I'm about, at the core, lyrics, dope beats, dope hooks, solid albums.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm from the school of Nas, Jay, Big. Like, that's what the fuck I love. You know,
Right.
that's what I grew up on. I love the music of today, but the shit of the past that I grew up on that's what I grew up on. So that's what's going to be in my heart. So to have Kendrick come back around and not be relegated to backpack status, not be relegated to, oh, he's just a hip hop kid, and have him become a household name and be accepted for his artistry without compromising on any level, and still produce 3, 4 incredible bodies of work. You know, that's the ultimate success. Uncompromised success for your true artistry, and being a part of that, you know, at its purest form. Like, it's the best, man. Like we gave this man, no, he gave himself, and we helped propel him to 3 #1 records. Like,
Absolutely.
multi-platinum album, and the Grammys to show for it at the end of the day. Like, it's the ultimate story of the come up. It's the ultimate validation. I mean, it's like full circle. It's like literally my dream growing up, watching rap videos of, you know, Heavy D, Salt and Pepper, and, you know, Doug Fresh, you know, Rakim, Herbie and Rakim, and Coogee Rap and Polo, was, I want to be the guy that kicks it with the rappers, because I know I can't rap, and I knew I wasn't going to be a producer, but I wanted to be the homie that was chilling, whether it was the dude that was getting to the bread. You know, I didn't know what that capacity would be, but in my mind, in its simplest form, is I want to hang with rappers. And that's what I do for a living, like, for real. That's what I've done for a living. So to see that dream come full circle, and then have an artist like of the caliber of Kendrick, who's uncompromised in his vision, actually win, it's the utmost achievement for me in my career. Like,
Absolutely.
Like, I'm sure we can go further, but to this point right now, that's an amazing accomplishment.
So we talked about a lot of projects that you grew up on in terms of like artists that you listened to. We said Nas, Biggie, Jay, a lot of the heavyweights at that time. Was there ever a song or an artist or a project that you wish you could have worked on, like a classic one?
Absolutely, it would have to be Illmatic. Probably because Illmatic, to a lot of degrees, has a lot of parallels to Good Kid. Like, so coming up in New York in the early '90s, when Nas came, there was no social media, so Nas kind of had this mythical thing going on with his rollout. Like, you knew about his verse on Live at the Barbecue, and everybody would talk about how incredible this guy's album was gonna be, but it was kind of like, when it comes, it's gonna be that thing. You know, and the buildup was incredible. This man said, you know, when I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus. Like, that lyric alone, you know, kind of set the table for you. Like, this motherfucker don't care.
Right.
Like, he's saying some off the wall shit, but he's doing it in a way where it's not just gratuitous. It's like he's using he's using the word in such a amazing way. Like, even though he's saying something wild and you may not agree with it, you want to hear more of it.
Right.
So by the time his album came, it was everything we expected it to be. Like the way I describe it, or another high moment back in college.
You had a lot of those, huh?
No, actually, I didn't. I really didn't smoke a lot, but when I did, I would be thinking and saying wild shit. You know, when you high, you say wild shit. So people be like, "Yo, it's a classic, but it's only 10 cuts," and I would be like, I remember saying this to somebody, "Yeah, it's 10 cuts, but it's really like 20 because if you listen to it high, you hear other shit.
A whole other song.
You hear a whole nother album, B." On my high shit. And I didn't even smoke a lot. That's the crazy shit. But if you really like to that point though, if you listen to Illmatic, you can really go back to Illmatic a few times and catch references and things that you may have thought you heard that you really didn't hear. Like it's laden with so many double, triple entendres and just things you may not think he's saying that he's like. It was so complex in his approach to writing and his delivery. Like he was, to me, he was the God MC. Like for me, like I love Jay, but I was really kind of late to the party when it came to Jay. Like I wasn't really about drug dealer rap. So for me, I couldn't really get into Jay because I wouldn't even listen to it. But when I finally did listen, it was like, you bugging.
Right.
Homie is incredible.
Right.
But you know, my own thought process and my own I don't want to say hangups because I don't think it's a hangup to not fuck with drug dealer rap. I was just on some like, nah, I fuck with, you know, straight up hip hop dudes.
Yeah.
So, you know, to me, Nas was like it and still is it. So if anything, I would love to have been part of Illmatic because I mean, just look at everything from his input on the album to the producers on the album. It was just it's a classic body of work. And it broke through, and it actually, you know, set the tone for the rest of the next generation.
I agree with that. What about if there's something you hear, see going on that you think would be cool to work on to date, aside from what you're doing now? Because obviously you're working and you're pretty in tune with what's going on.
Say that one more time.
Is there anything to date, like today, that you are looking to work on?
Music-wise or just in general?
Yeah, music-wise specifically.
To be honest, I can't say that I can identify one particular artist because there's so many artists and the way that you find artists these days is so different from back in the days. Like, and it really takes a really fine approach and fine-tuned ear to like really establishing what works and what doesn't. Because I don't even think, honestly, it's about just being honest about how the music particularly sounds. I think more so now people are buying into the artist and kind of their story or what they're projecting as their story and everything that surrounds them more so than the music. Because a lot of it doesn't sound like traditionally great music at first. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of records that out here that people say is the next shit, I may not get it, but I'm not gonna shit on it either because just because I don't get it first doesn't mean it's whack. It's not how we created music.
Yeah,
it's just a different approach to creating music and actually a different approach to establishing a fan base and a core group of people that actually champion it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
I agree with that.
You know, a lot of times there's a core group of people that actually like pushing this artist up the hill and getting to the point where, you know, someone actually looks at him and says, okay, this guy has a real base of people that fuck with it, and we could say by these metrics that it's actually something if we actually invest in, it can go to the next level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of like many little small movements going on, and someone is going out there and identifying those small movements and then taking it to the next level.
Right.
I.e. the Yachty's of the world. Like, frankly, I thought the record one night was the worst shit I heard in my life when I first heard it. I just watched the Noisy documentary before I came here today, and that shit sounded pretty okay. Yeah. It didn't hurt my ears. Yeah. Like, so here we are a year later, something I thought was terrible. A year later, context, influence, okay, it's not as bad on my ears. I can deal with it. So that's why I'll never take the approach of, you know, hating on none of this shit that's going on. Like, you know, you gotta evolve or you die like the dinosaurs.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? What I like in my personal taste and on my personal time is my personal time. But when it comes to breaking these records and introducing new music and new artists that's gonna kind of frame the culture moving forward, we have to do our best to, bring them into the fold, but then influence some of that as well. Give them some of this old school game and actually refine that thing that they may be bringing to the table and show them, not change it, but just make it better.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I think, people like Yachty benefit from having people like Coach around because he's from a certain era, so he knows, the music may be specifically for this core group of people right here today, but I'm gonna put you in front of a whole other group of people, and we're gonna do certain things to make you acceptable to that other group of people. I.e., him doing an interview with an Ebro and sounding intelligent as fuck in his approach to explaining why he does what he does.
Exactly.
That then gives me a lane to say, you know what, give young bro a pass.
Yeah.
He's fucking 18. He's not gonna make Illmatic.
Exactly.
In 2017.
Or beyond it. I mean, that's just his lane.
And if we're being perfectly honest, like, people got to keep it 100 with hip hop. Hip hop started out with party jams, people just rhyming, to make people shake their ass and have fun. And at the core of it, hip hop is party music. It evolved and became this thing that became more about the dialect and the lyrics and actually incredible production in the 90s. But at the start, it was about people having fun.
Right.
And I think it encompasses all of these elements. It encompasses, the angst and the sorrow of the hood, because for a lot of us, that's just our story. But it also, it has the revelry of partying, like that was projected by Puffy and them all through the 90s, because that was the nigga, we made it moment.
Yeah.
We got that bread and we gonna fucking put this shit in your face.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's cool because this is the culture. We're not one linear thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we should be able to project all of these different points of view and it'd be all right. It may not be for you, but we're not one thing.
Right.
We're not this monolith culture. We are the world. Literally, hip hop is the world right now. So you have to respect, the elements that's coming from different angles.
So in the music industry, you have to know and you have to work with a lot of different people, some of which you may or may not like. These are just people that you have to work with, right? Mm-hmm. I want to know what makes you, I guess, respect a person in the music industry personally. Like, what do you think are some characteristics or about a person that makes you kind of respect them even more?
If they're consistent, if they're about what they say they're about, their word, if they keep their word, and if they just not being on some fuck industry shit. Like, you come across so many people that, it's so crazy, man. You come across so many people in general. I'm not gonna even say rappers, but so many people that say they the real this, they the real that. And then you get them in these seats and you get them in, into these labels and you just see a different person. Like, it's so far from real. It's like the most comic book, caricature of fuck nigga shit that you see in the game. And that's the shit I don't respect.
Okay.
Like, just be 100. Like, we're not always gonna agree on everything. Artists, managers, producers are not gonna always be happy with what a label is doing for them at that given time. Sometimes you're gonna be, head over heels with a label. Sometimes you're not gonna be fucking with it because that thing at the moment is not working. But let's just take a real approach to it. Let's have a real conversation as men, and let's not be fuck niggas. All that shit that we say we really stand behind, these street ethics that we stand behind, being a real this, a real that. Carry that into this then. If you that real, carry that. Walk that walk. Don't become this industry fuck boy. Be real the whole way through. And that's the thing I don't like.
Yeah, I can respect that. So moving away from music, you also have created a marketing and apparel company called the Maven brand.
I did.
Yeah, so how did that come about and where is that to date?
Maven brand came about from me just kind of watching the landscape of what urban culture was, and this is 2 years ago that I came up with it. And the main thing that came out of Maven, that has come out of Maven brand, is my Never So Dope movement, which is a t-shirt and basically a hoodie line. And I just got kind of to my point a minute ago, like how hip hop is so expansive and it encompasses so many different elements of who we are as people from an urban community. Just like I don't think it's bad for Yachty to be this fun hip hop guy, but I also don't feel like everything has to be so fucking negative and drugged out and kill, kill, kill either. And I feel like, that 2 years ago when I really got fed up with it, it was like, this is all that's being projected about hip hop. There's room for gangster this, gangster that, but we need balance. You know what I'm saying? I respect anything that's authentic. Your story is your story, bruh. But that ain't everybody's story.
Right.
And I just feel like from the news to the music to, just the way our culture is being consumed, all the negative parts of it is what was being championed. Mm-hmm. So I just got kind of over it because I'm like, I'm from the hood. And I know a million people just like me from the hood that have never sold dope, that are not about the most terrible things in our community. Where's our story? You know what I'm saying? Conversely, melding with the story of the block.
Exactly.
Because we from the block. Because the dudes that are from the block, they had their arm around me telling me, keep going, homie.
Exactly.
Coming up. The drug dealer that saw me coming home from school, he was looking out for me. And we were one still on our block on the weekends when we played ball together or whatever. Where's that story?
Right.
And where's the story of now when that kid makes it out and he's amongst a new peer group of people that have a similar story? Where's that story of these kids that went to Clark Atlanta, went to Morehouse, went to Howard, that came out of the hood, that are doing great things in their community? Where's that story? Because it's the same, it's intertwined. We're still from the hood.
We just chose
a different path. So for me, Never So Dope is giving life and giving energy to people to say, I can step up and tell my story and tell my truth and live my truth in public. So I don't stray away from the people from the hood, and I don't downgrade them, because I feel like at the end of the day, when you're confronted with choices of eating and not eating, and having a job and not a job, I guarantee you the average dude would prefer a real job as opposed to selling dope. So I don't tell you you shouldn't or I denigrate you for it, but at the end of the day, that's not the only story.
Right.
So let me walk amongst you and let me tell my story, and you be for me like I'm for you. Because for me, it's not about telling an adult man not to sell drugs. You gotta do what the fuck you gotta do. But I want better for your son,
right,
even if you don't. I want better for your nephews and your nieces, even if you don't. So let me be this walking example of what it is to be someone that made it out. Someone that's doing well despite everything that was put in their face. So that they can say, oh, I can be like this one or that one. And I can still be fly. I can still drive nice cars. And I ain't got to be corny. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because that's the scale. It's like it's either trying to find the way to bring positivity but keep the culture and also not being corny. I think that's where you found the success in this brand.
That's the balance, and that's all I seek. Like I never want to be preachy to anybody. Like
it's not even a matter of being overly religious or too spiritual. I think that I can identify with what you said, so I think it will resonate for sure.
Okay.
And in terms of the brand, the Maven brand, what's next for you? And in terms of the Maven
so I
brand?
have another iteration of the Never So Dope hoodie shirt campaign coming.
Okay.
I actually wore one last week because what I do is now I'll get samples of something and kind of wear it to kind of get the temperature before I actually put it in the mass production. And the temperature I got on this new one is simple, but it was received very well where I went that one day. So I'm about to put that into production and
Awesome.
just keep on moving the ball on it. Like for me, I wasn't looking to create another money stream with it. You know, it does do well and it is profitable, but for me, it's more about just projecting what we need to project.
Exactly.
It's like too many of the kids are taking these songs for gospel as opposed to entertainment. So I need them to see real people in real life walking the walk. And if Never So Dope is your cape when you're walking that walk, fine. because one thing I do know about Never So Dope, what it does do is open up a dialogue and give room for conversation where there was none before. I get hit every other day with people saying, man, I just got stopped in blah, blah, blah. Or, man, I was just on the elevator and this lady said, I love that. Or, man, this dude came up to me and was like, oh, you so dope before. And then I had to get at him because blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But it actually starts a conversation where there wasn't one before.
Right, exactly.
And it can go from so many levels. It can go from the white woman that looks at you with all your jewelry and thinks that you're so dope, and that thing is saying something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be to the kid that's slanging, fake candy outside of Lenox Mall when he's just trying to get $1, but when your car pulls up and he's like, oh, damn, you got the Maserati, but you never sold dope, and now you're having to talk with a little dude that may not have been there before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, three words and making such an impact.
And that's it. At the end of the day, I just want to make an impact, whether it's subliminal or whether it's actually having hardcore, real dialogue with someone.
That's awesome. And let's talk about any other ventures you're working toward. I did see something at the Dinner with Friends that you did a couple years ago.
So I'm also I've been producing a web series called Dinner with Friends for the past year and a half with my partner Tori Edwards, and that's an online series right now where we bring people from all walks of life around a table, around a good plate of food. And
it looked delicious from what I saw.
It's always delicious. Shout out to Chef Jason Ellis. But that's another thing. It's about creating dialogue where there wasn't none. So, at one of our most recent tables, we had a sitting judge sitting across from Ming Lee, and a college student. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Having dialogue about women's issues as well as whatever the current topics are of the day. But because it's over food and good drinks, they're able to loosen up and just have some really dope dialogue about our community. So for me, creating and being a part of Dinner with Friends was about, once again, changing the narrative and giving voice to other sides of us that's not really being highlighted in pop culture. Mm-hmm. You get so much of this in a canned approach to reality TV. You got this one star who's off the fucking chain and a bunch of ratchets around them creating this fucking zoo. Mm-hmm. And that's supposed to represent who we are. Be clear, when you go around the world, and I've seen this, when you travel the world, that's who the fuck they think we are. Mm-hmm. Because that's all that's being shown around the world. So for me, I ain't with that. I'm not trying to go to whatever, Istanbul, and because I'm dressed like your favorite rapper, you wanna treat me in a certain way off the rip. Mm-hmm. Now you gotta respect me, bruh. So if me, creating, this new content to where people can see people like myself and other people from different walks of life interacting and actually having intelligent dialogue about the things that really matter to us, if that can help people change their opinions of who we are, fine. Right. And that's it.
So you with this Dinner with Friends, you will see, you'll actually hear the conversation as well.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know if it was like, because what I saw online was more of like a recap, I would assume. So I didn't. Yeah.
No. Cool. There's Dinner with Friends is set up into several sections. Of course, it's appetizer, dinner, and dessert. Mm-hmm. And during those parts of each part of dinner, you get 3 different topics to discuss. But beyond that, we also do one-on-one interviews with each person that's a participant in Dinner with Friends.
Gotcha.
So you may have seen a one-on-one commentary with someone that was actually part of the cast for that month, and they're giving their backstory and why they wanted to be a part of it. Blah blah blah.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's very comprehensive in its approach. And
where can people see this?
You can search it on YouTube. Dinner with Friends ATL. Or Google Mapmaker Studios search Mapmaker Studios on YouTube, and you can find it as well. So, cool. For me, I feel like I'm in a position where I have a certain amount of respect. I think people know if I'm bringing something, to the masses, it's been pretty well thought out, and I know I'm not corny. I know I still have a great amount of social currency to the point where I can kind of influence things and it not come off as this nigga preaching. Like, nah, I kick it. Like, I'm about this. I'm about this music. I'm about having a good time. But I'm also in a place where in my life where I feel like I still have to have a certain amount of responsibility to giving voice to the better parts of our community.
Absolutely. You have that influence and that voice to do so. So I respect that. And even speaking on, how things have changed for you in your life, you're a family man.
Correct.
How has being married propelled your career and the way your perspective is on work and success?
Changed it 1,000%. I mean, when you're not out here, running around trying to manage a million different relationships and situations, you got more time to focus on getting to the money. You know what I'm saying? And trust, that's exactly what you're doing when you're dealing with more than one situation. You're managing your lives, you're managing your time, and you damn sure managing your bread. Because I ain't met a woman yet that don't require some kind of something when you dealing with her.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether it's a meal, whether it's helping with a bill, whether it's getting her nails done, like that's a lot of bills at the end of the day when you trying to manage them situations. So for me, when I got married, it really it slowed me the fuck down, and it became now I got to focus on really, really, really getting to this bread and really creating a legacy for who I am and my family at the end of the day.
And you have a little girl.
I have a 3-year-old little girl who's my world. I call it, the best job you will ever have is being a parent, and it is. I love my baby girl Gabrielle, and she makes me smile every day, and is my motivation for a lot of what you see me doing. Like, I'm not delusional. I know the world is what the world is, but if I can, be an input on making this world better for her, I damn sure I have to do that. It's incumbent.
Yeah.
It's incumbent upon people who know better to do better. You can't just sit there and just be idly stand by and just be apathetic about the world and say me and mine's got it, because before you know it, that shit might be at your doorstep because you didn't address it.
Yeah, that's real.
You don't deal with these young boys, that shit might deal with you.
Yeah.
So you would like to make yourself a little more approachable, bruh, and make yourself a little more accessible with the gifts and the things that you have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Before you have to deal with it a different way. I prefer not to deal with it like that.
Yeah, I agree. That's positive.
I felt like I sound like Tip for a minute.
I prefer not to agree with it that way. Look, so what I did notice about you and your daughter's relationship, she sings with you, you sing with her.
I do.
Are you prepping her for the music industry already, or
Negative?
No? Are you with
I'm
that?
I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to anything she wants to do. Like, my daughter's, she's finding her voice as a 3-year-old, and I'm starting to get a grasp of what she likes and the things that she's drawn to. But as anybody with a child knows, is that also changes a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
With children. So I just want her to be a happy child.
Yeah.
Just to be honest, like I'm not setting no goals for her. That may change when she gets a little older. I may start trying to steer her towards being a lawyer or whatever, just because for whatever reason. But as of today, I just want her to be happy.
Awesome. So, what are some lasting words that you could leave for someone who would possibly want to be in a position where you are at this point in your life, especially over the years, all of the success that you've gotten? What are some things or some words of advice you would give to someone?
Do what you say you're gonna do. If people like myself and people like Curtis, I appreciate you for having me here, Curtis. Like, we get approached every day for people that say they want to get on, right? Me, I have a way that I do things with people that say they want to get on. I tend to, I don't want to say I string them along. That's not what I do. But what I do is I let people vet themselves out to make sure that they're really about what they say they're about. So, for instance, if I meet somebody, because I'm very approachable, if I meet a kid that say they want to get on, I make him show that. I need you to be pleasantly persistent in how you deal with me and how you approach getting on, and show me that you can actually bring some value to me. What are you gonna do if I help you get access to this business to make my job easier at the end of the day, because it has to be a two-sided approach. I got to know that you actually feel like you're worthy of working before
You invest that into.
before I put you into a position
Yeah.
of actually doing real work. Because if you're not here to work, I don't need you here. I don't need you here to get IG pictures. I don't. Like, I want people that have a similar work ethic as me. I'm clear it's a new day, but work ethic has been the same since the beginning of time. So, you know, anybody that's like, that considers me a mentor, they'll tell you, Keinon kind of made, you know, it was a minute before he actually put me on. And it's a reason for it. Like, I got to know that you really want to work. So show that. Show me how you're going to make my shit easier. Because honestly, I've been doing it 20 years without your help.
Right.
I don't really need your help. But
yeah.
I want to know that if I put you in a position to succeed and to have access to people that can help elevate your career, that is going to be a benefit to both of us.
Right.
Because trust, if I put you on, you're going to have way more access to things than I am from you. Trust. So I just say, you know, come in with a real work ethic. Be pleasantly persistent in your approach, because I don't owe you anything, nor does anybody else in a position to help you. You know, be pleasantly persistent, and just be the same person every time. Don't get on and get brand new. Like I told you earlier, I think that's been my number one thing. Like, I've done well in this business, and I've been able to make a career out of it and provide for my family off it. But anybody that knows me will tell you, Keinon is consistent. He is the same person from day to day. You said earlier you probably couldn't find anybody that could say anything bad about me. I doubt you could either. And that's because I am what I present.
Yeah. And with that, I was going to ask you, in terms of your legacy, what is something that you want the world, what is something that you want to leave behind to the world?
What do I want to leave with the world?
Like, what is the message? Obviously, people are going to know you, and they're going to respect you and understand that you've been consistent, but what is something that you want personally with all that you've done with your clothing and your marketing brand?
I want people to know, one, I never took any of this for granted, because I know that if God plucked me out of the hood, out of all these kids that I came up with that are no longer here, stuck in the hood, consumed by drugs, God plucked me out. And I take that with me to say that I owe it to myself, my community, to do better and to take the things that I've been given to the next level. That's why I do what I do. Anybody can, you know, be successful and just sit back behind their beautiful home and their gates and just chill.
Right.
Like, anybody could do that. That's fine. And it's not a knock on anybody that doesn't want to use it, because everybody is not meant to be the voice for someone else. But I choose to be a voice for people that feel like I feel, because I feel like I made it out for a reason. God didn't put me in a position just to be successful.
Exactly.
He put me in a position to be a voice and a light for people just like myself.
Nice. Wow. This has been a great conversation. I've definitely learned a lot from you, Keinon, and we look forward to what you have coming up with the Maven brand, as well as with Interscope and your new position. Congrats again.
Thank you very much.
As always, thank y'all for tuning in to the I Do Music podcast, and we out.
I do music. You heard?
I'm sorry, where can they follow you on social media?
Oh, you can Instagram is probably the best one. I'm always posting on Instagram at KEINON .THE.MAVEN, Maven. Keinon the Maven, with
Nice.
dots in between each word.
Yes, and you guys can follow me on social media, Sammy approved. And once again, this is the I Do Music podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in.
All in your mouth.
Sonically superior.